Welcome to Baker Dave Presents. Today we're here in the kitchens of Johnson Hardwick Hall at Temple University. It's a working kitchen. There's going to be noises. There might be some people in the background. Today I'm by myself. This is a big deal because I am going to make my favorite dessert, homemade ice cream, coming right up. Welcome. So today I'm going to be by myself, but here's the catch. On a regular basis, people ask me, hey Baker Dave, you're a pastry chef. What's your favorite dessert? And it's usually I just give them an answer. Whatever's on top of my head. Could be cake today, could be cookies tomorrow. Just because I'm not. I mean, no offense to anyone that asked me that question. I really apologize, but I'm just trying to get through. I love all desserts, so I don't really know. Whatever. But today we're going to actually make my actual favorite dessert. This is a big deal. Ice cream is my go-to for everything. This whole body here was created by ice cream. This is literally how I became the pastry chef I am. I could eat ice cream every day, literally every day. I remember as a kid, I used to go to my grandmother's house, and that was the guarantee. Every time you went to her house, she had that gallon of ice cream, and it wasn't like now we have good ice cream, so we know the difference. It was like this gallon of ice cream with so much air into it that it was probably a quart ice cream originally. It wasn't like Ben & Jerry's like we get now. But it was the greatest thing ever. I love that ice cream. I love putting sprinkles on it. I know they're here in the Philly area. A lot of times we call them Jimmy's. But I love putting sprinkles, sauce, everything about ice cream. There's not a bad ice cream. If ice cream comes in the house and it's not my favorite ice cream, I'll still eat every bite of it. Whereas everyone else will be done with it after a day or two. So I've never actually had bad ice cream. But this ice cream is amazing. So I'm going to go through the process here so you understand why ice cream is such a big deal. In a lot of countries, there's people that literally spend their entire life making ice cream and it's different countries. It's a custard. It's all sorts of different stuff. But it really matters how you put this ice cream together. And this recipe is by far my favorite recipe that does this. The fat content has to be perfect, so that you get that nice, smooth, creamy feeling without it coating your tongue. Because nothing's worse than when you have homemade ice cream and you've got this big coating left over after you've eaten it. And it would taste good, but you still have this fat coating that you don't need. So you don't want too much fat, but you want enough fat. Otherwise it gets icy. Not enough fat, and it's almost like you're eating ice chips, more like an iced milk, and that's not good either. It also makes it way colder, so that's like a texture thing. If you're eating ice cream and it doesn't have enough fat in it, it's super cold, which is not what you want either. The sugar content has to be right. If you don't have enough sugar in it, then it'll actually freeze harder. So if you want the perfect consistency, you have to have enough sugar to keep it from freezing too hard. For the same reason that jams don't freeze hard won't freeze hard in the freezer because they have so much sugar in it. That's what you're actually looking for with this. And it's the same thing with sorbets and any kind of frozen dessert. They actually make this really cool device. I couldn't tell you what it's called, but it makes this ball float. And you can pour the liquid into it, and the ball floats to a certain level based on how much sugar is in it. So it makes it a certain buoyancy. And then you know that it's right for what you're doing, because especially with sorbets, which I'm getting off topic here a little bit, I apologize. But you're using fresh fruit that always has a different amount of sugar in it. So you have to make your adjustments every time you use different fruit. That's why ice cream's easier. We're going to go with that first. So the key to it is actually cooking it like a custard almost. So one of the ways you're getting fat in this is from egg yolks. And you don't want to eat raw egg yolks. So you want to make sure the egg yolks are warmed up but not cooked. Once they reach about 160 degrees, they're going to coagulate, and you're going to have chunks of egg in it. And no one wants egg ice cream. You want a custard flavored ice cream, but you don't want chunks of scrambled egg in your ice cream. That would be disgusting. So we're going to start with our heavy cream. We're going to take 2 cups of heavy cream. And what's great about heavy cream is because it has so much fat into it, it actually won't burn as easily as milk does. So when you put milk and you have to scald milk and then you leave it, you walk away and you come back and it's all burnt at the bottom, this won't do that. And to help with that, you'll take your sugar and actually just lay that in there. You don't even have to stir it, just lay it on the bottom. That kind of creates like a little bit of a barrier too. And then just crank it up. In a second, it's going to start heating up. The next step is with your yolks. And this is a little trick I do. I actually use the cream that's heating up as a bain-marie to help warm my yolks. And mostly I'm just trying to get my yolks to room temperature, because when I take the hot liquid, I'm going to pour it back into the yolks, and that's going to finish the process and bring the yolks to the temperature I want. That will make them safe, about a 140, 145 temperature that will kill off any bacteria, make it safe for eating without coagulating them. So we're going to add 6 yolks straight in there. This is just in our container here, and we're going to kind of mix that up. As this heats up, which will take a few minutes, as this heats up, you're going to see these are very liquidy in the beginning, but and if they start getting thick, it's not the end of the world. I don't really want them to get thick. I want them to stay liquidy because I'm just trying to warm them up enough to make them safe to eat. I'm not actually trying to do anything crazy with them. I don't know what your memories are of ice cream trucks as a child, but that was the only thing. We didn't have food trucks. Like, I'm a little older, I guess. We didn't really have food trucks. That wasn't a thing. And I grew up in a small town in the middle of Ohio. It wasn't like you walked down to the food truck and got a burrito or something. But when the ice cream truck would come through the town, like, you could hear it, the music playing. It only came in the summertime. I don't know what's going on around here, but I've actually seen an ice cream truck on my block like in January. And I don't know why that's happening. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't think the ice cream trucks in Ohio have the snow tires you would need to get around at that time of year. And no one seemed to be interested in ice cream back then. But that sound, that song, I'm not even sure what the song is, but that song brings you right back to that. Oh, there we go, we're boiling. This is a good thing. Once this starts heating up, I'm on side note here, you can't just let this sit because the eggs will cook. So as it's warming up, which is good, it's warming up, you want to keep it moving. So there's a lot going on there too. Let me take this back, I did. As a kid, I used to make ice cream, but we never had an ice cream maker. So I don't know if anyone ever did this, but like maybe in camp or whatever, but you take the cans and you put the ice in it and you'd roll it back and forth. And that's why I never made ice cream as an adult until I actually got a machine, because that thing takes forever. I don't know if you've done that, but it's very exhausting and not worth the ice cream when it's done. But one of the key things that it does is you'll know if you use a lot of ice cream. I actually have a compressor, like an ice cream maker with a compressor now, because I don't like dealing with the ice. But you'll add salt to the ice, and people probably wonder why you're adding salt to the ice, right? It actually brings down the freezing temperature so that the ice becomes liquid. So the liquid water that has the salt in it is colder than 32 degrees. So now you're bringing the whole temperature of that down. Beautiful. Okay, so we're actually doing really good here. So it brings the whole temperature down so that it keeps it colder than 32 degrees so that you can actually freeze the ice cream. So you see this is boiling but not burning. So that's a good thing. I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to liaison that into the egg yolks here. So what we're basically doing is we're adding it slowly so that we're bringing the egg yolks and this to the same temperature. If you add it all at once really quick, again, you're going to have chunks of egg in your ice cream, which no one's going to want that. And you're stirring the whole time that you're doing that. It'll look very yellow. This is basically what like a French vanilla would look like, right? Because it's custardy, it has the eggs in it. It's a little richer, but not necessarily fatty. There's nothing wrong with yellow. Once the air comes in, it'll actually lighten up. So whenever you add air to anything, it becomes lighter in color. And ice cream is no exception. So typically you would take this, I'm going to add my vanilla. And typically if you have the time, my suggestion is to take everything, all the cream and everything, cook it like this so the sugar and everything gets mixed up good, put the vanilla in, put it in the fridge, leave it overnight. I don't have that kind of time right now, so I kept my milk, my cold milk, separate so that I could bring this back to almost a room temperature so that it'll actually work in the ice cream machine. So I'm not overworking it. But the best thing to do is to let it sit overnight. Let the flavors completely develop. And you can use any flavor you want. I put vanilla in everything, so there's always vanilla in it. At this point, you can turn it into whatever you want. As you're gonna see, I'm gonna go ahead and pour this into the machine. But I also, I crunched up some Oreo pieces because I like cookies and cream ice cream myself. So you can do that. You can add candy pieces to it. You can add anything you want later on. You don't want to add it too soon or it's going to make your whole ice cream that color because it mixes the entire time. So we put that in the machine. And it's got a paddle on it. So what it's going to do is it's going to continuously move while it's on, so that it never freezes solid. It allows air to get incorporated into it as it's freezing, which is what we want. All right, so that's good. Ice cream is mixing. Now, typically, I like the idea of having a cookie or something with my ice cream, or a cone, obviously. So I wanted to make like a little Florentine cookie that I'm gonna actually use as the bowl for the ice cream itself, that you could then use to do sundaes or whatever with. Here in this building, we're actually nut-free. So typically when you make Florentine cookies, you make them with almonds or you make them with any kind of nut. I've made them with cashews, I've made them with all sorts of nuts. I'm not gonna do that today. I'm actually gonna use sunflower seeds because that's my favorite nut alternative when I'm making nut-free stuff. And it works really well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually take some corn syrup and butter. I'm just using the same container because why not? Like almost all the ingredients are already in it anyways. So we do 2 tablespoons of corn syrup. And we're gonna do 6 tablespoons of butter. We're gonna turn that on. We're cooking this. We're actually cooking this up a little bit. We're gonna do 3/4 cups of sugar. That's also gonna cook in there. We need the sugar and everything to melt together so that when it goes back in the oven, it cooks through. I don't know if you've ever seen the cookie I'm making. They're very flat, and oftentimes if you look them up, they're called like an almond lace cookie because little holes will appear between them. I'm hoping that they don't have huge holes because then the ice cream will go through it, but it should be okay for what it is that we're doing. There's tons of cookies that, the reason I chose this, honestly, besides I love the flavor of it and it goes really well with it, a lot of times you'll see in fancy restaurants, they'll make little tiny ones and they'll just stick them on top of the sundaes. But these cookies can be reshaped after they come out of the oven. So they go in flat and then you can kind of make them any shape you want, which is exactly what you do for ice cream cones. When you make it, they put it in like a waffle iron, kind of like a pizzelle maker, and they'll actually shape it that way, but then when they pull it out, they can shape it and then it hardens as it cools. And that's what this does, which is what I love about it and why it's so great for what we're trying to do. We're gonna add our vanilla and 2 tablespoons of heavy cream as well. And we have this separate bowl over here. We're gonna put flour in. So we have 3 tablespoons of flour in that bowl. And our 1/2 cup of sunflower seeds. So our nut alternative. Once this cooks up, it won't actually caramelize in the pan, but it'll be to the point where it's ready to caramelize, which is great because we're gonna stick it in the oven. It's exactly what it's gonna do. It'll become this nice, beautiful brownish color and crunchy. But that's the goal. I don't think I was trying to think back. I didn't make these till I went to culinary school, but these had to be like my favorite cookie. Like, I guess when I got to culinary school and I realized that you could make cookies other than chocolate chip cookies or oatmeal cookies, like I thought that was fantastic. Like the idea that cookies have different textures. Here in America, a lot of our cookies are very soft. They're very cakey. This is definitely a crunchy cookie. Once I realized that biscottis existed and the cookies could be crunchy and that was an okay thing. That opened my eyes to a whole new world. It changes how you feel about cookies. So we're boiling up here good, right? We literally are just gonna turn that off and mix that in with our flour and our nuts. And it doesn't look like much, but the little bit of flour is going to help give it some shape as it comes together. And this too, it's very runny right now because it's hot. So the butter's hot, so of course it's runny because it's hot, because the butter's hot. You can take this and stick it in the fridge if you don't want to bake it all now. And it can actually kind of be rolled and then just sliced, and it'll do the same thing. It'll remelt in the oven, and it'll actually work just fine. Because it doesn't last forever once it's mixed. Like once it's baked, sorry. Mixed, and you can mix it all day long. It'll last about a week. Once it's baked, it'll start, because there's so much sugar in it, it'll actually start absorbing the moisture from the air, and it'll soften it up, which is not what you want. So I'm just gonna put like 6 tablespoons on here, like a tablespoon on each. And I'm using parchment paper. Traditionally, when I'd made these originally, they had us flour, like grease and flour the back of a pan, and we would do them on the, and I think it's because when you go to get them off, it's easier because you can use your spatula and just slide it right under it, and it's lifted up instead of underneath. But I use this angled spatula, so it works just fine. I can do it like this. So if you have a flat one, feel free to use the back of it, but I don't like the idea of dirtying the back of a pan. I don't know why. I have no idea where it comes from, but it just seems weird to me, so I don't do it. I'm gonna put this in the oven. It's gonna be about 350, maybe 8 to 10 minutes. You're gonna see it get some color, which is what you wanna do. So, all right, so I think the ice cream's about ready. What you want to look for is you're going to notice it gets nice and thick. It'll actually shut itself off at some point when the resistance gets too much. If you can catch it before that point, you'll have less air into it. It'll be a creamier product. It'll actually be like a higher quality version of your ice cream, which is what you want. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off right now. So much quieter, isn't it? And then you can see how beautiful this is. It's like a soft serve at this point. But we're gonna wanna mix in our flavors. So being that we're mixing in cookie pieces, I'm gonna dump this into the cookie pieces and fold them into it. If you mix them in too soon, the whole mix will just be a grayish color from it. It's totally not what you wanna do. You also wanna work fairly quick because ice cream melts. And I'm not in a freezer right now doing this. So again, just carefully fold it in. I mean, you could eat it just like this. It's just very soft. It's almost like a milkshake. And then we're gonna go ahead and put that in the freezer. At this point, my cookies are coming out of the oven too. As soon as they come around. And we're gonna have to start shaping those to make sure that we have our cups that we're gonna use. So behind me, you're gonna see this is an oven, probably not like the oven you have at home. We actually have shelves, I don't know how well you can see it, but there's actually shelves inside. The oven is gigantic. It's the size of my bedroom probably almost. And the shelves actually rotate inside of it, so we have to wait for the shelf to come up. It's not as simple as just bending down and picking it up out of your oven at home. So here they come. And you can see how beautiful golden brown that is right now. This is exactly what you want. The sugars have started to caramelize. And you see how soft it is? There's a period. There's a small little window you have that you can shape these. So we kind of let this cool for like a minute or two while we're waiting for to get up underneath it, and you'll see when that happens. this whole process, immediately, I was just thinking about this a minute ago, it took me right back. I used to work in the casinos, and we had to make ice cream almost every day. And we would get, like you get milk, I don't know if I say like you get milk, like people get milk like this, but giant 5-gallon things of milk like we get here. They would come like that with ice cream mix, and we'd have to dump them into this machine bigger than me. And just that whole that used to be one of my favorite jobs to do there. So as you can see, at this point, I can pick this up now, finally. And again, very small window. You're going to pick this up. You're going to drop them inside a little cup, just so that it shapes itself. And it's going to harden up and make this beautiful little cup that you can use to serve your ice cream in. And yes, it's hot. For those that are going to be like, holy cow, I can't touch that. It's very hot, but my fingers have no feeling left anymore, so. One of the side effects of being a pastry chef, I guess. So at this point, seriously, they're cooling very quickly now because they're outside of their shape. So I put the ice cream into the freezer, and you can see it's a lot harder now than it was. I'm able to actually scoop it. So I'm going to see if any of these cups, look at that. A nice, beautiful little cup you have there. You can take your homemade ice cream, stick that right inside there. It's not quite an ice cream cone, but I'm still holding it in my hand, so it's okay. And this, my friend, is the perfect dessert. Exactly what I was looking forward to. And it just breaks right off. It gets hard. It's kind of like if you ever go to a Mexican restaurant and you get a salad inside a tortilla bowl that's deep fried. It gives you that feeling, which is exactly what I want for my ice cream. And the pieces break off right into it. It's great. So, if anyone ever asks me what my favorite dessert is, I probably won't tell you this because I won't remember. But this is my favorite dessert right here. Thank you for joining us here on Baker Dave Presents. I hope you enjoyed watching and learning about making homemade ice cream as much as I enjoy making it and eating it. I love ice cream. Join us again next time on Baker Dave Presents, and remember, every recipe has a story. Thank you for joining us here on Baker Dave Presents. I hope you enjoyed watching and learning about making homemade ice cream as much as I enjoy making it and eating it. I love ice cream. Join us again next time on Baker Dave Presents, and remember, every recipe has a story.